At 6:13 in the morning, my best friend stood barefoot in my kitchen, wearing my old navy hoodie, holding my coffee mug with both hands and asked, "Do you always talk to women like you're in love with them when you think they're asleep?" I was halfway through pouring coffee when my hand froze. My name is Mark Reynolds. I'm 32, I teach 8th grade history, and I have built a quiet, predictable life around not saying things I can't take back, especially not to women who matter, especially not to Lily Carter. Lily was 30, a freelance graphic designer with a laugh that made strangers turn around, and she had been my best friend for 4 years. The kind of friend who knew my takeout order, borrowed my spare key, and once sat on my apartment floor helping me sort through boxes after my engagement ended. She was also the reason I hadn't slept more than 2 hours. The night before, we'd gone to a birthday party for our friend Dana at a crowded little bar downtown. Lily didn't drink much usually, but Dana kept handing her champagne, and Lily kept saying, "It's fine, Mark. I'm celebrating being emotionally well-adjusted." By 11:30, she was sitting beside me in the booth, leaning her shoulder against mine like she'd forgotten where her own balance lived. "You're very handsome tonight," she told me. I looked down at her. "You're very drunk tonight." "Both things can be true." I laughed because everyone else at the table was laughing, but she didn't look away. Her eyes stayed on my face, soft and unfocused, and her fingers brushed the cuff of my shirt like she was checking whether I was real. That was the trouble with Lily. Even when she was joking, she sometimes found the one place in me I kept covered. When the party started getting louder, I told her I was taking her home. She argued for exactly 8 seconds, then rested her forehead against my shoulder and said, "Okay, but don't use your responsible voice. It makes me want to behave." I should have taken her to her apartment. That was the plan. But when I pulled up outside her building, she searched her purse 3 times and came up with lip balm, a receipt, one earring, and no keys. Her roommate was out of town. Lily blinked at the locked front door, then at me. "I'm a capable adult," she announced. "You are." "I have misplaced evidence." "You have." She looked embarrassed then, all the humor slipping off her face. "I'm sorry." Something in her voice made the decision for me. "My place is 10 minutes away," I said. "You can take the bed. I'll take the couch." She nodded, but she didn't move right away. In the car, she fell quiet. Streetlights slid over her face, bright then shadowed, bright then shadowed. At a red light, she turned toward me. "Mark?" "Yeah?" "Do you ever get tired of being careful with me?" My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I kept my eyes on the road. "You're drunk, Lil." "That's not an answer." "No," I said quietly. "It's not." She smiled like she'd won something, then closed her eyes. At my apartment, I gave her water, aspirin, and a pair of clean sweatpants. I set my hoodie on the bathroom counter because she was shivering in the thin green dress she'd worn to the party. I kept my eyes on the hallway wall when I said, "Change if you want, I'll be in the kitchen." "You're such a gentleman," she called through the door. "I try." "No, you hide behind it." That one landed harder than it should have. A minute later, she came out wearing the sweatpants and my hoodie, the sleeves covering half her hands. Her hair was loose around her shoulders and she looked smaller in my clothes, but not helpless. Lily never looked helpless. She looked like a woman who had wandered too close to a truth and was deciding whether to touch it. She caught me staring. "What?" she asked. "Nothing." "You always say that when it's not nothing." I turned away to pull the comforter back on my bed. "You need sleep." She sat on the edge of the mattress and watched me like she was trying to memorize my restraint. When I straightened, she caught my wrist. Not hard. Just enough. "Stay until I fall asleep?" Every sensible part of me said no, but her thumb moved once against my pulse, and I sat in the chair beside the bed. She lay down, still holding my wrist like an anchor. Minutes passed. Her breathing slowed. The room was dark except for the stripe of light from the hallway. Then she murmured, "You never let anything happen." I thought she was asleep. That was my first mistake. I looked at her face, relaxed against my pillow, my hoodie bunched near her cheek, and I said the thing I had no right to say. "Because if something happened with you, Lily, I wouldn't survive pretending it didn't matter." Her fingers loosened around my wrist. I stayed there, not breathing properly until I was sure she was asleep. Then I went to the couch and spent the rest of the night staring at the ceiling, feeling like I had crossed a line even though I hadn't touched her. And now she was standing in my kitchen, wearing my hoodie, looking far too sober. The coffee maker hissed between us. I set the pot down carefully. How much do you remember? Lily took a sip from my mug. My mug. The chipped one that said, World's Okayest Teacher. Enough, she said. That's vague. It's kinder than the truth. I leaned back against the counter, trying to read her face. She wasn't smiling now. The teasing had drained away, leaving something quieter. Something that made the kitchen feel too small. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, I said. Her eyes flicked down to the hoodie sleeves wrapped around her hands. You didn't. Then what are we doing? She looked up at me. For the first time in 4 years, Lily didn't answer like my best friend. She stepped closer, set the mug beside me, and said, I'm trying to figure out if you only said it because you thought I'd never hear it. I looked at Lily, at the dark smudge of mascara under one eye, at my hoodie hanging off one shoulder, at the woman who had just set a lit match between us and was waiting to see if I'd blow it out. Lily, I said. She gave a small, humorless laugh. That tone? What tone? The one you used right before you convinced both of us not to want something. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Because she was right. I had a talent for making restraint sound noble. I could dress fear up in manners. I could call distance respect, silence patience, loneliness maturity. I'd been doing it for years, but it was different with Lily. It had to be. She wasn't a date I could lose after dinner, or a stranger whose name I'd forget. She was my emergency contact, my movie night argument partner, the person who showed up at my classroom with cupcakes after a parent yelled at me so badly I almost quit teaching. If I ruined this, I didn't just lose a possibility, I lost her. You were drunk, I said carefully. I was drunk when I asked if you got tired of being careful with me, she said. I was not drunk this morning. That doesn't change last night. No, but it changes now. The kitchen clock ticked too loudly. I rubbed both hands over my face. I shouldn't have said that while you were sleeping. I wasn't sleeping. I didn't know that. I know. Her voice softened. That's why it meant something. That hit me square in the chest. I looked away first because apparently I was still a coward before 7 in the morning. Lily leaned back against the opposite counter, wrapping her hands around the mug again. Do you remember when I broke up with Nolan? Unfortunately. He called you my emotional boyfriend. He also wore loafers without socks in January. I didn't value his judgment. She smiled, just a little. I laughed when he said it, told him you were my best friend and he was insecure. He was insecure. He was also not completely wrong. I went still. Lily stared into the coffee like it might give her instructions. I didn't know what to do with that, with how easy you were, how safe, how you'd walk me to my car but never make it feel like a move, how you remembered the tiny stuff, how you never asked for more. Because you were with someone. After Nolan. I had no answer. After Nolan, I had helped her repaint her studio. I had taken her to dinner the night her biggest client backed out. I had sat beside her at Dana's wedding while she cried quietly during the father-daughter dance because her own father hadn't called in 6 months. And I had gone home alone every time, reminding myself that friendship was not a waiting room. I thought you didn't see me that way, she said. I laughed once because the alternative was making a sound I couldn't live with. Lily, her eyes lifted. That has never been the problem. The words hung there. A blush rose in her cheeks, slow and startled, like she hadn't expected me to finally stop protecting her from the truth. She set the mug down. Then what is the problem? You know what the problem is. I know what you think the problem is. I pushed off the counter, needing to move but having nowhere to go. If we cross this line and it goes badly, there's no clean way back. Maybe not. That doesn't scare you? Of course it scares me. Her voice cracked on the last word, and it changed everything. I woke up in your bed, wearing your hoodie, remembering you saying you wouldn't survive pretending I didn't matter. And my first thought wasn't, oh no. It was, finally. My chest tightened so hard I almost couldn't breathe. Finally, I had imagined many versions of this conversation during weak moments. Usually late at night, usually when her name lit up my phone and I waited 3 seconds too long to answer. In none of those imagined versions did she look at me like she was just as terrified. Lily, I said again, but this time her name came out broken. She crossed the kitchen before I could stop her. Not fast, not dramatic, just 3 quiet steps until she was close enough that I could smell my laundry soap on her and the faint sweetness of champagne still in her hair. She tilted her face up. Tell me to stop. My hands curled at my sides. Tell me this is a mistake, she whispered. Tell me you don't want me. I should have said something responsible. Instead, I said, I can't. Her breath caught. Then my phone rang. The sound ripped through the kitchen like an alarm. We both flinched. I glanced at the screen on the counter. Dana. Lily saw the name and laughed under her breath, dazed and disbelieving. Of course. I let it ring. Lily looked from the phone back to me. You're not answering? No. Mark Reynolds ignoring a call. Is this the apocalypse? Possibly. The phone stopped. Silence rushed back in, but the moment had shifted. Not vanished. Shifted. Lily stepped back half an inch, and I felt the loss of it everywhere. My phone immediately buzzed with a text. Dana, is Lily with you? She's not answering. Also, please tell me she didn't go home with that guy in the leather jacket. Lily groaned. Oh my God. I picked up the phone and typed, she's safe, with me, lost her keys, sleeping it off. Lily raised an eyebrow. Sleeping? I looked at her, at the hoodie, the bare feet, the mouth I had nearly kissed. Trying to, I corrected, and hit send. Dana's reply came instantly. Dana, thank God. Wait, with you? A second later, Dana. Mark. Should I be excited or concerned? Lily read over my shoulder and made a strangled noise. Do not answer that. I set the phone face down. Too late. Another buzz, then another. Lily covered her face with both hands. She's going to call everyone. Probably. So, in about 12 minutes, our entire friend group will think we slept together. We didn't. No. She lowered her hands. Her cheeks were still pink, but her eyes were steady on mine. We didn't. The way she said it made the room warm again. I swallowed. You should probably shower. I can drive you home when your roommate gets back. Lily studied me. Is that what you want? No, but fear, loyal as ever, answered first. I want you to have a clear head. Something flashed across her face. Hurt, maybe, or disappointment. Then she nodded. Right, clear head. She walked past me toward the hallway. At the doorway she paused without turning around. For the record, she said softly, I've had a clear head about you for longer than you think. Then she disappeared into my bedroom, still wearing my hoodie, and for the first time all morning, I understood I wasn't the only one who had been pretending. The shower turned on, and I stood in the kitchen like a man who had just been handed a map in a language he should have learned years ago. Clear head. I had said that as if Lily's feelings were some temporary side effect of champagne and proximity. As if mine were not 4 years deep and rooted in every ordinary Tuesday we'd ever shared. My phone buzzed again. Dana, Mark. I swear to God if you leave me on read during the most important morning of our adult lives. Then, Dana. Is she okay? That one softened me. Me. She's okay, hungover, embarrassed, safe. Dana, good. And you? I stared at the screen. Me. Also safe. Dana, not what I asked. I locked the phone. By the time Lily came out, she was wearing her green dress again with my hoodie over it, damp hair combed back with her fingers. The sight did something unreasonable to me. Like my apartment had accepted her more easily than I had. Your shower pressure is tragic, she said. Good morning to you too. And your shampoo smells like a lumberjack went to therapy. Cedar is calming. It's aggressive. There it was, our rhythm. The familiar bridge. We both stepped onto it with relief, pretending not to notice the river underneath. I made toast. She sat at the table and picked at it. quiet between jokes. Every few minutes, she touched the sleeve of my hoodie like she'd forgotten she still had it on. At 8:30, her roommate finally called. Lily put her on speaker. Mia, I lost my keys. No, Mia said immediately. Yes. Again? That tone is unhelpful. Where are you? Lily's eyes flicked to mine. Mark's. There was a pause so loud it needed furniture. Oh, Mia said, don't owe. I didn't owe. You absolutely owed. Mia lowered her voice, which was pointless because she was on speaker. Did something happen? Lily looked at me. I looked at the toaster like it held legal counsel. No, Lily said. And also maybe? Mia gasped. I closed my eyes. Nothing happened, Lily clarified quickly. I was drunk. He was annoyingly decent. I slept in his bed, alone. He slept on the couch. Mark did? Why does everyone sound surprised by that? Because he looks at you like a Victorian widower, babe. Lily's mouth fell open. I turned toward the sink and coughed. Mia, Lily hissed. What? I thought we all knew. We do not all know. I know. Dana knows. Marcus knows but pretends not to because he thinks Mark will panic and join a monastery. I'm hanging up. Wait, I'm almost home. 10 minutes. Lily ended the call and placed the phone face down with great care. Neither of us spoke. Finally, I said, Victorian widower? She pressed her lips together. I wouldn't focus on that. What should I focus on? Her eyes lifted. The fact that apparently everyone knew except us. I knew. Mark. I knew how I felt. She went still. I braced both hands on the counter. I didn't know you might feel anything back. Her voice came softer. You never asked. I didn't think I had the right. That's not the same thing. No, it wasn't. The room felt different now. Not charged like before, not one breath away from a kiss. This was worse. Honest. Bare. The kind of conversation where one wrong sentence could become a scar. I was engaged when we met, I said. Lily's expression changed. She knew pieces of it, but not all. I never talked much about Claire. You were kind to me then, I continued. When everything fell apart, you were there. You didn't make me feel pathetic. You didn't make me feel like a failed man with a ring in a drawer and no future. Mark. And somewhere in all that, you became the first good thing I didn't want to ruin. I looked at her. So I made rules. I told myself loving you quietly was better than losing you loudly. Her eyes shone. That is the saddest romantic thing anyone has ever said to me, she whispered. I laughed, rough and unwilling. I'm sorry. Don't be. She stood slowly. But don't make rules for both of us without telling me. The knock at the door saved me or doomed me. I still don't know which. Lily opened it to Mia, who rushed in wearing sunglasses and carrying a spare key like a trophy. Before anyone yells, Mia said, I bring salvation. Her gaze bounced from Lily's damp hair to my hoodie to my face. Oh my God, she said. The energy in here is disgusting. Mia, Lily warned. What? It's like walking into a Nicholas Sparks movie if both leads had anxiety. I will change the locks, Lily said. You need keys to do that. Despite myself, I laughed. Mia handed Lily the spare. Dana has texted me 17 times. The official story is you lost your keys and Mark was a saint. That's the true story, I said. Mia looked at me over her sunglasses. Is it the whole story? Lily answered before I could. No. The word landed between us. Mia's eyebrows shot up, but for once she read the room. Cool. I'm going to wait downstairs and pretend I have boundaries. When she left, the apartment felt too quiet. Lily held her keys in one hand. With the other, she tugged at the hem of my hoodie. I should go, she said. Yeah. She nodded, but neither of us moved. Then she took the hoodie off. The green dress underneath was wrinkled from sleep, one strap twisted slightly, her skin still flushed from the shower. She folded the hoodie once, badly, and held it out. I didn't take it. Keep it, I said. Her fingers tightened around the fabric. Mark. Not as a symbol, I said quickly. Just, you get cold. A small smile broke through. You're terrible at not making things symbols. I'm learning. She hugged the hoodie to her chest. I'm going home. I'm going to drink water, find my dignity, and maybe die for 3 hours. Reasonable plan. And tonight, she said, you're coming over. My heart kicked once. Am I? Yes, 7. We're going to talk with no alcohol, no Dana texts, no emergency exits, and no responsible voice. I swallowed. And if talking changes things? Lily stepped close enough to touch my arm but didn't. Then we let them change. She left before I could answer. From the window, I watched her climb into Mia's car, my navy hoodie bundled in her lap. My phone buzzed again. Dana? So? I looked at the closed door, at the empty mug on the counter, at the bed down the hall where I had accidentally told the truth. For once, I didn't hide. Me. I think I'm in trouble. At 6:42 that evening, I stood outside Lily's apartment holding takeout Thai food, a bottle of sparkling water, and the emotional stability of a paper lantern in a storm. I had changed shirts 3 times. Then I'd realized Lily had seen me with the flu, covered in chalk dust and once crying into a slice of pizza after my engagement ended, so pretending I had mystery left was pointless. Still, I knocked like I was arriving for an interview. The door opened almost immediately. Lily stood there in leggings, bare feet, and my hoodie. My brain went blank. She looked down at herself, then back up. I was cold. Of course. And hungover. Understandable. And maybe I wanted to see what you'd do. I held up the food. I brought noodles. Her mouth twitched. Bold response. It's all I have. She stepped aside. Come in, Victorian widower. I'm never surviving that nickname, am I? Not a chance. Her apartment was exactly Lily. Plants in mismatched pots, design prints leaning against walls, a bright yellow couch nobody but her could have made look intentional. My hoodie on her somehow belonged there too. Mia was nowhere in sight. Roommate, I asked. Out. Under strict instructions not to return unless there's blood, fire, or I text the eggplant emoji. I stopped unpacking the food. I'm afraid to ask. It means emotional crisis. Does it? No, but it was the first thing I thought of, and now she's confused enough to stay away. We ate on the floor by the coffee table because Lily said chairs felt too formal for a conversation that might ruin our lives. For a while we talked around it. Dana's party, her lost keys, my tragic shower pressure, the leather jacket guy who apparently had been named Brent and had spent 20 minutes explaining cryptocurrency to a ficus. Then the silence arrived. Lily set her chopsticks down. Okay. No responsible voice? I nodded. No responsible voice. And no deciding what I can handle. That one hurt because it was fair. Okay. She pulled her knees to her chest, sleeves over her hands. How long? I didn't pretend not to understand. Since your studio open house? Her lips parted. That was 3 years ago. You wore red shoes? One of your prints fell off the wall and you laughed before anyone else could. I remember thinking... I stopped. Say it. I remember thinking I wanted to be the person you looked for when something went wrong. Her eyes softened. You already were. Yeah, I said quietly. That's what scared me. She looked away, blinking fast. I forced myself to keep going. If I stopped now, I'd rebuild the wall brick by brick before morning. I didn't want to turn friendship into some kind of debt. Like because I showed up for you, you owed me feelings. I never thought that. I know. But I've seen men do it. Act patient when they're really keeping score. I rubbed a hand over my jaw. I didn't want to be that guy. Lily's voice was gentle. You aren't. I also didn't want to be the guy who couldn't be your friend just because you didn't love him back. She went still at the word love. So did I. There it was. Bigger than like. Bigger than want. Too big for the yellow couch and the half-eaten noodles between us. Lily lowered her knees. You love me? My throat tightened. Every safe answer came to me, every careful one. I ignored them all. Yes. She inhaled shakily. I'm not saying that to pressure you, I said quickly. I'm not asking you to say it back. Mark. I stopped. She moved the takeout containers aside, clearing the space between us with trembling hands. Then she shifted closer until her knee touched mine. I don't know when it started for me, she said. That's the truth. It wasn't one moment. It was 100 stupid little ones. I barely breathed. You fixing my sink while grumbling that my landlord was useless. You saving the corner brownie because you know I like edges. You letting me rant about clients, then asking the one question that made me realize I was actually upset about my dad. Her hand found mine on the rug. And yes, I dated other people. Because I thought if you wanted me, you would have said something. I almost did. When? At Dana's wedding. Her eyebrows lifted. You were crying, I said. I wanted to hold your hand. Not as comfort. Or not only as comfort. And I thought, if I touch her now, I'm going to give myself away. Lily's fingers tightened around mine. I wanted you to. The room tilted. All this time, I said. All this time, she echoed. The laugh that escaped her was small and broken. Mine matched it. Then she leaned forward and rested her forehead against my shoulder. I froze for half a second before my arms went around her. It was just a hug. Except it wasn't. She fit against me with the terrible familiarity of someone I already knew how to hold. My hand settled between her shoulder blades. Her breath warmed my neck. The cotton of my hoodie bunched under my fingers, and I felt, absurdly, like I had been waiting years to come home to something I'd been standing beside the whole time. Lily? I whispered. She lifted her head. Her face was inches from mine. No champagne this time, no dark bedroom, no excuse. Tell me no, she said, barely audible. I looked at her mouth. I'm done lying. Then I kissed her. For 1 second she didn't move and terror split through me. Then her hand slid up my chest, curled into my shirt, and she kissed me back like she was angry at every year we had wasted. It wasn't graceful, it wasn't careful. It was soft, then not soft. Then both of us laughing under our breath because my knee hit the coffee table and a carton of noodles tipped over. Sorry, I muttered against her mouth. Shut up, she whispered, and kissed me again. I had kissed women before. I had been engaged. I knew the mechanics of desire, the heat, the rush. This was different. This had history in it. This had every unsent text, every swallowed confession, every goodbye at her door that lasted too long. When we finally pulled apart, Lily's eyes were bright. Well, she said. I laughed breathlessly. Yeah. She touched my face like she was testing the new shape of us. I'm scared. Me too. Good. Good? If you said you weren't, I think you hadn't understood the assignment. I covered her hand with mine. What happens now? Before she could answer, her phone lit up on the table. Mia. Do I come home or keep wandering Target like a divorced ghost? Lily snorted, then typed one-handed. Lily. Keep wandering? 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. Mia. Oh my God! Lily dropped the phone face down and buried her flaming face in my chest. I was still laughing when my own phone buzzed. Dana. Why did Maya just text me the hoodie has landed? Lily groaned. We need new friends. Probably. But my smile faded when another message appeared beneath Dana's. Claire. Hi, Mark. I know this is out of nowhere, but I'm in town. Can we talk? Lily felt me go still. She lifted her head. What is it? I stared at my ex-fiance's name glowing on the screen, the past arriving exactly when the future had finally opened its door. Then I showed Lily the message. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Claire's name sat between us like a ghost that had learned how to text. Lily's hand was still against my chest. A minute earlier, she had been kissing me. Now her eyes searched my face, careful in a way I recognized too well. Do you want to answer? She asked. No, I said. The answer came faster than I expected. Lily blinked. No? I spent a long time thinking closure was something Claire had to hand me. I looked down at the phone. But I think I already got it. Her fingers relaxed slightly. When? I looked at her mouth, still pink from kissing me. About 5 minutes ago. Lily's eyes filled, but she smiled. That is a dangerously good answer. It's also true. I picked up my phone and typed before I could overthink it. Me. Hi, Claire, I hope you're well. I don't think meeting is a good idea. Take care. I hit send. Then I turned the phone off completely. Lily stared at me. Mark Reynolds, phone off. Emotional boundaries. Kissing on the floor. Who are you? Possibly a man having a breakthrough. Hot. I laughed, and the sound loosened the last knot in my chest. But Lily didn't let me hide in the joke. She took both my hands. I need to say something, she said. Okay. I'm not Claire. I know. And I'm not going to punish you for wanting me. My throat tightened. But you can't love me like you're apologizing for it, she continued. If we do this, I need all of you. Not the version who stands at the door with one foot already outside because he's afraid I'll leave. I looked at our hands, at her thumbs brushing my knuckles. You're asking me to be brave, I said. I'm asking us both. That was the moment I understood love wasn't the confession in the dark. It wasn't the kiss, either. It was this. Lily sitting in front of me wearing my hoodie, asking me not for perfection, but for presence. So I nodded. I'll try, I said. And when I panic, I'll tell you instead of turning into a tragic 19th century widower. Her smile trembled. That's all I want. I leaned forward and kissed her again, softer this time. Not a question. Not an accident. A promise beginning to learn its own shape. We didn't figure everything out that night. Mia came home eventually with a Target bag full of snacks and the smug expression of someone who had known all along. Dana called at midnight and screamed so loudly Lily had to hold the phone away from her ear. Marcus sent a single text that said, "Finally," followed by a monk emoji. Claire didn't reply. And somehow that silence felt like mercy. The next few weeks were strange and beautiful and occasionally awkward. We had to learn how to date inside a friendship that already knew too much. The first time I held Lily's hand in public, Dana applauded from across the restaurant. The first time Lily kissed me goodbye in front of my apartment, I forgot my own door code. We fought too. Once I canceled dinner because work had drained me, and I didn't want her to see me low. She came over anyway, furious and carrying soup. You don't get to disappear just because you're sad, she told me. So I let her in. Another time she got scared after a client moved to another city and convinced herself everything good was temporary. I found her on her studio floor surrounded by rejected sketches, wearing my hoodie like armor. I'm here, I said. I know, she whispered. That's what scares me. So I sat beside her until being scared wasn't the only thing in the room. 6 months later, she officially stole the hoodie. I stopped pretending I expected it back. By the following spring, she had a drawer at my place. I had a favorite mug at hers, and my students started asking why I smiled at my phone like a man in a soup commercial. Lily designed new posters for my classroom, including one of George Washington with sunglasses that my principal hated and every student loved. A year after that night, we went to Dana's birthday again. Same bar, same crowded booth, same terrible lighting. This time, Lily drank one glass of champagne and stopped. Near midnight, she leaned against my shoulder, sober and warm, her fingers laced through mine under the table. Do you ever get tired of being careful with me? She asked. I turned my head and kissed her temple. Yes, I said. So I stopped. She smiled like that was exactly the answer she'd been waiting for. Later, we walked home instead of calling a cab. The city was quiet, the sidewalk shining from earlier rain. Lily wore my navy hoodie beneath her coat, the hood peeking out at the back of her neck. At my apartment door, she paused. What? I asked. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a key. Not mine, hers. Then she placed it on my palm beside my own. I don't want to lose evidence anymore, she said. I closed my fingers around both keys and pulled her into me. The hallway light flickered overhead. Somewhere downstairs, a dog barked. Lily laughed softly into my chest and I held her there, wrapped in my hoodie and my arms, no longer asleep, no longer pretending, no longer careful with the truth. What would you have done if you got your drunk best friend home safe? Woke up to find her wearing your hoodie and realized she heard the confession you thought you'd whispered only to yourself. Have you ever experienced something similar? Tell your story in the comments. If you liked this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.